Well, welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a great lunch. Did everyone have good lunch? Was it good? I think it put everyone to sleep. Was there good food? Yes. Okay, everyone's feeling a bit low energy. Okay, we're gonna have dive straight into our next session. Hopefully you've been outside, you've had some food. Hopefully you've seen some sunshine. It's a beautiful day. Hopefully you're feeling energized because we're now going to be having a great conversation. So throughout today's discussions, we've heard this recurring theme that farmers are being asked to navigate an increasingly complex landscape. They're expected to strengthen resilience, steward natural resources, adapt to climate change, and continue to feed a growing population. And this brings us to our next session. So if you're coming in, please quickly grab a seat and we're going to get started. So our next session, we are going to talk about some of the different conversations happening at the moment around farming. And these conversations don't always see eye to eye. One of the conversations I'm sure you're hearing is around global frameworks, targets, commitments, and the other is often about the day-to-day realities that face farms. And these challenges that we see intersect in a way that's complex and multidimensional. And the realities of the challenges for farmers are continuing to worsen around conflict, around climate, around crisis. These all impact farmers in different ways, and it makes it harder than ever. But there is also a lot of solutions. Is there solutions? Are we aware of solutions, farmers? I think the farmers have fallen asleep from the lunch. Are you with me? You're here. Good. Okay. So we're going to talk about solutions. We're going to talk about different perspectives, approaches. We're going to talk about words like sustainable, regenerative, climate smart, restorative, and we're going to talk about all of the different approaches that can be taken. We're also going to talk about how do you scale this up? What does that actually look like to scale these things up so that farmers can rise to the challenges? So I'm going to be moderating this next panel, not handing to a moderator. So if we go over time, it's my fault. But we're going to have a great conversation. The next roundtable discussion is about pathways for regenerative and resilient agriculture, finance, partnerships, and farmer-centered solutions. We're going to bring together farmer organizations, international agencies, philanthropy, development partners, and the private sector. And many of these people and organizations are working in different parts of the system, but they're increasingly asking the same question. What does it take to scale solutions that already work? Not things that don't work, but scale things that are already working. Over lunch, we were talking about farmers looking over the fence. Does anyone as a farmer look over the fence and see what's happening at the farm next door? And go, is there something there that I can bring into my farm? Is there a solution that I can gather? So we're going to have that. So I'm going to invite our experts who are on the panel to come up and join us from across the field. So please come if you're on this panel, and we're going to then ask you to introduce yourself. Can you make them feel welcome, please? Can I have a Kenyan welcome now? Are we in Africa? We are. This is good. Okay, so what I'm going to ask, this is a fantastic group of people, and I would struggle to introduce them all, so I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves. I want you to do it lightning style. So I've challenged the panel that we want to get into some discussion and debate. And we're going to hopefully have some time for coming to you in the room as well. So I want you to introduce yourself, please. Include your name, where you're joining from, your role, and the perspective that you're bringing to this conversation, this discussion. So I'm going to see if you can do it under 30 seconds. The way my start is I'm Paul Newnham. I'm the CEO of the SDG2 Advocacy Hub. I'm from Melbourne, Australia. And I'll bring the perspective today that complex solutions or complex problems need a basket of solutions. Okay, over to you.
Thank you. And good afternoon. My name is Sarah Mpagobunu. I am actually based here in Nairobi, which is great. And I'm with the International Fund for Agriculture Development. I'm the regional director. And I will bring in the perspective of financing.
Good job.
We always like the money people. I'm Keith Curry. I'm an 8th generation farmer, just about 2 hours north of Toronto, Canada. And I represent the farmers from coast to coast to coast in Canada. And as a farmer myself, what I bring to the table is I'm the one that has to practically implement all these supposed solutions on the ground. How do we make it work?
Well done. Thank you. Welcome.
I'm Theo de Jager. I'm a farmer of macadamias, avocados, and timber in the northernmost province of South Africa. I'm currently chairing our family network for farmers in South Africa, SAI, and also Agri-All Africa, a network of South African, Zimbabwean, and Namibian farmers farming elsewhere in Africa.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm Libaisi Judith from Kenya. I'm the country partnership lead for the Power for Food Partnership, an IKEA Foundation-supported movement focusing on regenerative agriculture and productive use of renewable energy. So this is exactly what I bring to the panel, Nexus thinking, as well as systems transformation, way of working. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wakulima woye. Good afternoon. My name is Kagweria Kome. I'm a manager at Rockefeller Foundation. And today I bring the perspective that all our children deserve a school meal. We hope to source that school meal locally from farmers who are represented here. And because we love our children, that food will be grown regeneratively. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. So my name is Pascal Chapeau. I work for Nestlé, where I'm heading the agriculture department, meaning leading the 500 and 600 agronomist team that we have in about 40 countries. And I will try to illustrate, so I work closely with farmers, but day to day with a big corporate, I will try to illustrate the views from the private sectors and from the consumer-facing side.
Thank you. A big round of applause for these guests. And well done for the 30 seconds. You all did very well. So this is going to be a good conversation. So it's a fantastic group. And we also have one speaker who is unable to be here. And so Tara Shyam from Region 10, who was unable to join us in person, but has sent a short video presentation that we're going to play now. So it's if you watch the screens, and we're going to hear from Tara.
Hi, everyone. I'm sorry I couldn't be with you today in Nairobi. My name is Tara Shyam, and I'm the Executive Director for Region 10, a global multi-stakeholder initiative working to advance regenerative agri-food systems. And the World Farmers Organization has been a partner of Region 10 from our very early days. From our perspective at Region 10, regenerative agriculture is being defined too narrowly across the system, and farmers carry the cost of that. When regenerative gets reduced to soil carbon or a handful of practices, the things farmers actually depend on, like fair value, dignity, economic viability, get treated as nice to haves. The community, governance, and infrastructure conditions farmers operate within rarely get named as outcomes a regenerative system must support. and the responsibility of buyers, finance, and programs is left implicit, with farmers held to standards that the system around them simply is not. The Regen 10 Outcomes Framework names 12 dimensions and 25 farm-level outcomes precisely so these things sit at the center, not at the margins. The framework is an outcomes reference. It's not a standard or certification, not an assessment. It expresses a view on what regenerative agriculture should deliver across farms and the systems that sustain them. Economic viability, livelihoods, dignity, ecology. It doesn't tell people what to do, and it doesn't set thresholds. These decisions sit with the actors closest to the implementation, integrating agriculture with finance, energy, and markets, including farmer organizations themselves. It was co-developed with farmers, with business, indigenous peoples, NGOs, and conservation organizations through more than 2 years of multi-stakeholder consultation. And that is what makes it credible as a shared multi-stakeholder reference. Economic viability and fair value distribution are outcomes in the framework, alongside soil health and biodiversity. The framework treats farmer livelihoods and profitability as something a regenerative agriculture system must deliver, not something that follows automatically or assumedly if the ecology is right. That's the lever farmer organizations can use in conversations with buyers, funders, and programs. It's also why the demand-side mechanisms like public procurement and school meals matter so much in practice. They're one of the most direct routes through which the system pays for the outcomes it claims to want. For farmer organizations specifically, 3 things matter most. First, farmer organizations are already advancing integrated farmer-led solutions. The gap isn't ambition or capability on the farmer side, it's the alignment of finance, markets, and frameworks around what farmers are already building. Second, the framework is a tool farmer organizations can hold others to. When a buyer, a funder, or a program says that they're supporting regenerative agriculture, the framework gives NFOs a shared reference to ask, regenerative for what and for whom and by whom? Third is the accountability hook. Not because the framework enforces actions, but because it makes the gaps visible. Gaps that others need to justify. So really the answer to who pays for the transition is that this is unresolved across the system. And that's exactly the conversation an outcomes reference is designed to surface. If finance, buyers, and programs only pay for soil carbon, then only soil carbon gets delivered. A fuller outcomes reference forces the question of what the rest of the system is willing to invest in and where the costs currently sit, which is, as many of you know, often sitting with the farmers, and it should not be. The framework's contribution to a multi-stakeholder system is that it gives different actors a shared reference for what regenerative agriculture should deliver. Without that shared reference, alignment is simply rhetorical. With the shared reference, alignment becomes something we can hold each other to. Thank you all so much for having me.
Well, thank you, Tara and Regen 10 for sending through that message. So we're going to dive straight into some questions and hear from each of you on stage. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of these challenges and solutions, and we're going to talk about the different approaches. I'm going to start with you, Theo, to open up the discussion. You have significant international and regional leadership experience. What are your thoughts on translating global targets into local action? What's your reaction also to the framework presented, and how do you see the role of farmer organizations in this kind of framework?
It's a very loaded question, and I'm not going to risk a simple answer to it.
Okay.
The big issue is scaling. There is no other place to scale than amongst farmers on their farms. Farmers must buy into this. And it's not that easy to sell. To sell, you need to speak farmers' language. No use we go to farmers and speak about transformation of food systems. Just to test the water, I've asked 3 farmers over the last day or so, what do you understand when you hear transformation of food systems? And here in Africa, they hear mechanization, modernization. In Europe, they hear we must use less synthetic fertilizers and agrochemicals. In Asia, they hear we must commercialize linkages to markets. But that is not what's meant by this term, transformation of our food systems. It's transformation of production on farm level, and it's transformation of the downstream value chain. So sell it in practical terms. Farmers are the most practical people in the world. The next thing a farmer is going to ask us, and each one of you who serve as a leader of a farmers organization will know, when you are confronted by your members, they want to know, what's it going to cost me? Will it strengthen my profitability? And if not, they will not buy it. Farmers will not alone pick up the bill for global imperatives such as conservation and biodiversity and climate. And then, what's the science behind it? It must make sense to farmers. Business sense and scientific sense to farmers. And then farmers need to bounce this thing off each other, that peeking over the fence. You need the platforms where farmers can talk these things through and say, what does it mean for me on my farm tomorrow and the day after? What must I change? And can I? What will it take to get it changed? So personally, I'm excited about the framework. Region 10 always comes up with good ideas packaged well, but it's not yet translated into what farmers will buy. We need to take that step.
So important to translate that, but also to be able to have the space to have that discussion. And I think you've articulated that very well. And I think there'll be others that want to jump in around this conversation. But Keith, let me hear from you as well. Some of this global ambition, how do we translate it into practical change on a farm? And at the same time, keeping it relevant, farmer-led. Is there any examples that you can share of implementation in that way?
It's a difficult subject from a farmer perspective. Teo touched on it, and even Tara mentioned a bunch in her video. It starts with the actual term regeneration, and what does that mean? If you put 10 farmers from 10 different countries up on the stage and ask them to define what does regenerative mean, you'll probably get 10 different answers. Now, they'll all be conceptually on the same theme, but there'll still be 10 different answers. So how do we come to that common theme of whatever works for you to get to the end goal? Our governments are very good at setting goals and targets. You look at our 31 years of COP conferences where targets have been set and never been reached. And what I tell my farmers at home, or what I tell my governments at home is, tell us where you want us to go. Just don't tell us how to walk there. Because there's multiple different pathways to get to where the end goal is. So we need to look at, how do we leverage this into an outcome-based decision? Because what I do on my farm to achieve that outcome may be totally different than someone else around the other side of the world does. And I use the term all the time at home that's very important, and Teo just touched on it. You can't be green if you're in the red. In other words, if being all that society and governments and environmental NGOs want us to be, without the funding behind it, we just financially can't do it. So we have to be practical in nature. We have a program in Canada called the Environmental Farm Plan, and it's in other countries around the world as well. But I know my own province started this program, I think 40 years ago. And essentially it's a farmer-led program. It's where farmers sit down and they identify potentially environmental problem areas on the farm. And there are different subnational levels of funding that go into helping the farmer finance projects on the farm. It might be creating a grass waterway in a valley to prevent erosion. It might be putting up fencing along streams or rivers to keep livestock out, reforestating areas, pollinator habitat, these kinds of things. Eaves troughs on your roofs of your buildings so that the water has a place to go. And once the farmer identifies issues on his property, it's approved by a non-government body, but that document remains confidential. So it's not to be used against them, so that the government or an environmental agency comes in and says, thou shalt do this on your farm because we know you identified it as a problem. So it gives the farmer an incentive to go do the right thing at the right time. And so that's been a very successful program. And so the more we can have those kind of collaborations where we'll give you the tools and then we'll get out of the way and let you do it, I think is how we get to where we need to go.
I love how you were talking about just the destination, like outlining where we want to go and then having a conversation about how do we get there rather than telling people how to get there. And I think this is something we've heard also from all the other conversations, that farmers need to be a part of that conversation. They need to drive that conversation. I think that's really key, and great to hear about some of those programs. Pascal, I'm going to bring you in, your perspective. So as we're talking about these kinds of programs and issues, how do we balance contextualization with scale? Because I think this is the challenge, is there's an urgency here, but how do we get that scalability whilst at the same time the contextualization? And what do you think are some of the most powerful levers that you've seen for taking successful approaches forward?
Thank you. A large question as well. I think, as you formulated it, it's not either or, but we need both, definitely. And they don't contradict. First, I would say the contextualization, the localization, it's a given. At project level, I think Theo and Keith, they said it very well before. If we come or if we believe that we can come with a cooking recipe and apply it across the board, that's a predictable failure, and farmers will never come back. So this localization, to me, it's a given at project level. And I think I would not elaborate more on. However, on top of that, we as private corporation, so we sell goods to consumers. So we have a public also disclosure. We have these kind of requirements, meaning that for us one of the challenges is how can I communicate simply to the world, to the public, to consumers, with things as complex as okay, I need liming on that soil in this country. I need that kind of cover crop that works well here. Or my dairy business is different. So we have to aggregate things that come from all geographies, all crops, all pedoclimatic conditions. So we also need things that allow us, that enable us to communicate and put things simply in an aggregated way and in a way that will be easily understandable and that will make sense. I think that's the first part of the answer for the scale. The second one I would like to give, it's the light of the investors who are important for a corporate like yours. And today, regenerative agriculture or sustainable agriculture, whatever you call it, it's more and more well received and well understood as a risk management action. More and more investors now, they are seriously considering that, and they see it through the angle of risk management. They want to be reassured on the fact there will still be a sourcing raw materials in the next 10, 15, 20 years. And this is a very important aspect that probably I would not have mentioned 5 years ago. I have seen a real change from that point of view. So for that, we definitely need solid schemes, rooted in science, credible, easy to also to explain and to implement, and with clear business cases overall. So with that, we very welcome this initiative for common frameworks like Region 10 we saw. There's another one which is out as well. It's the SCI platform, which I like quite a lot as well, because it starts with the local materiality assessment to make sure that we focus on what matters locally. And just to conclude, I will illustrate also to give you this, this slide of this increased importance given to risk management and the importance given to agriculture. At the last General Assembly of Nestlé, so Nestlé is a big boat. I don't remember, I think it's over 200 billion capital valorization. One of the investors stood up and asked a question about, hey, you gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, this regenerative agriculture, will you give more clarity between the engaging level and the more advanced level? And so this is quite, increasing importance. And the second point is I was discussing with in Europe with one of these important bank financing most of the farmers in the country. And we were discussing the financing needs globally at country level. They had made a nice study. And they told me something that was, I had never heard. They told me that maybe one day these outcome-based interventions, they may become prerequisite for further investment, just to make sure that to mitigate the climate impact, we have done, the step 1 and 2 and 3 before moving to other more complex or more costly interventions.
Thank you. One of the things that I really picked out of what you were saying was this risk challenge and how people are looking at that risk side of things. And I think this is something, obviously, when you do come to the finance and who's paying for this or how is this being paid, the risk and the challenge with farming that we've heard on stage is that it needs a different approach to finance. It needs a different approach to risk. I don't know, Sarah, whether, at IFA, just a small comment, I'm going to come back to you on another question, but is there something there on the risk side of things with finance and how you approach those standardization versus contextualization?
No, exactly. I think that's the key issue. And for many commercial banks, it's, farming is a risky business. And this is why they don't find farming bankable.
Yeah.
And our challenge in working with them and trying to incentivize them and trying to de-risk investments in agriculture, it always comes down to that. And there's all sorts of perceptions, and I have to be careful here because I'm, in a room filled with farmers, all sorts of perceptions about risk in farming. And, and as long as we're not able to actually develop those risk profiles, be able to actually give the real risks that farming is engaged with, and if you don't have tools to manage it, then we won't be able to attract the financing. Or even if we do, then it's super, super expensive and it doesn't make financial sense.
Yeah.
So these are the quick things I would say. The cost of finance, the type of quality of finance, the volume of finance, this remains a huge, huge and pressing gap, particularly in East and Southern Africa, from where I sit.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's finding some of those mechanisms or ways to actually look at some of those risks, but also how you take this forward. I'm going to move to one of those mechanisms. Kagwira, good to see you. What conditions do you say need to be in place for procurement systems to create stable demand, to strengthen local markets and support farmers through this transition? You talked a bit about schools before. Can you share a little bit on that?
Yeah, thank you, Paul. It's also good to see you. So when I began, I talked about school meals, and let me answer that question in the context of school meals. So globally, we spend about $84 billion to feed our children. Bringing that home, we're spending in Kenya about $30 to $50 million a year. Can you imagine the transformative power if that funding was used to source locally? It can shape markets, it can influence what we eat, and also determines who benefits from this system. So from RF, what we have learned in terms of changing procurement systems so that they can work, the first is that you have to have government commitment. How many of us here are Kenyans? Can you lift your hands? How many of us drank maziwa ya Nyayo? Yeah, so quite a number. So we need to see a few young people in the room. Now, let me tell you the story of maziwa ya Nyayo, which was the milk that was, it was a presidential directive that was actually done on the roadside. But because the president had said that in 1 month, all children, all learners should get a cup of milk, the systems shifted to ensure that our children did get that milk. So it meant the farmers got the training. It meant we increased our processing capacity. It meant that also we improved the dairy sector. And I think to date, it's also the most vibrant in East Africa. 1 million farmers were integrated into this system, and then 2 million children did get a nutritious cup of milk every day. When you have that commitment from the top, the systems shift to ensure that commitment is made. The second thing that we have learned is that demand is not enough. We need to actually support our farmers through transition. And the best example or one of the good examples that we have seen is the government of Rwanda that has made a commitment to transition at the first phase 1,000 hectares of its food baskets across the country. What does this signal? When you have partners who are operationalizing, like Solid Africa, who may be in the room, and many other partners, is that they source that food from the regenerative farmers, so they're giving them a market, but then that food also goes into channels such as school feeding, and also in this case, into hospitals. So it's just being very intentional on the outcomes that you want. In that, here, we're working on the ecological benefits, but then we also know the nutritional outcomes come in the end. The third thing that I have seen that works as well, or as a foundation that we have seen, is coming together as actors so that we create platforms where we align all our investments. Now, the Kenyan farmers in the room, is there anyone here from Murang'a? Yes, great. So, and I think Murang'a here, the ones who have put up their hands, please look out for them, and they can tell you about how they're working together with a multi-stakeholder platform where they align in investments to ensure that the farmers are trained, the inputs are available, and then you're very clear on the outcomes that you're working towards, which include the nutritional outcomes, the biodiversity goals. So for us at the Rockefeller Foundation, we're very committed to ensuring that we work with governments. 100 million learners will get our school meal, or 100 additional learners, but very intentional that for the procurement of these meals, that we're not only working towards nutritional outcomes, but then we're also shaping market systems. Thank you.
Thank you. I might bring in Judith just on this. So in this shift, the procurement systems, do you have a view on the risk involved? We just talked a little bit about risk, but does this help carry the risk? Does this provide an opportunity for farmers to transition, I guess, in some sort of way around some of these practices, or what's your view there?
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Sarah already said that agriculture is a risky business. And looking at it, I would like to say that the risk is actually borne by farmers, unfortunately, smallholder farmers. And the major risks around the transition goes with the risking the yields, which translates to food security, goes around market risks. The farmers in the room will tell you, as they transition, they are not getting the premium prices for the transition, or they are not getting the incentive to transition. And there are many other risks, such as climate risk. And also, all I can say is that smallholder farmers really are the ones who are bearing the risk. Looking at the investors, Sarah was talking about, the investors have ways of de-risking, their ways of working, but who is looking at the de-risking mechanisms for smallholder farmers? So that is what I would like to bring into this discussion and ask this question to all of us here. Yeah.
I think that's an interesting one when you talk about the procurement opportunity of the size that Kagwira you were talking about. There is an opportunity for de-risking there, I guess, and thinking about how that could plug in. So I think we maybe circle back to that in a minute. Sarah, let me bring you in. Thank you, Judith. From the perspective of farmers and farmer organizations, what in this conversation reflects the reality farmers are experiencing today, and what are we still getting wrong in this conversation? What sort of assumptions are we still getting wrong? Well, you're sitting next to two farmers.
Exactly. I have to be very careful here. I am a smallholder farmer, by the way, because I harvest avocados and bananas often. So I have some legitimacy. No, I think it's the reality is that, you know, climate change has happened. It is happening. And so there is an urgency. It's not something that is gradually taking place. It's already here. Rising temperatures have actually translated in lower yields globally. So this is a fact. And it's not, and we're getting it wrong to think it's a gradual process that is about to happen. And we only take attention or get shocked when we see floods or droughts or extreme temperatures. And I think that's not good enough for us, because in reality, that's the fact. And then secondly, I would like to say that in fact, we're just assuming that, you know, smallholder farmers in general, don't have solutions at their fingertips. They've been experimenting, they've been innovating, they've been trying to adapt already to this changing context, and they are best suited and they know their soils best, they know their context best. The question is, how can we actually, that question about over the fence, how can we actually leverage technology today to actually enable them to share experiences, knowledge, and the solutions that they have? Are we applying digital effectively enough to allow them to exchange? Because farmers perhaps in Southern Africa have a solution that East African farmers might be able to actually apply very well. So I think we don't center the knowledge, we don't document it, we don't give them platforms, and I think this organization would do very well if we can actually have, you know, on-sites, websites, etc., that can actually tap into the knowledge in the hands of farmers. Thirdly, I would say from a farmer perspective is the market access thing is really, really important. And just to build on what has already been said, if you don't have a market, if you don't have a contract, you cannot really sell at any economic value or benefit, or you can sell at a loss. And so what we see today is that there are many cartels, and it is very, very difficult for farmers, organized groups, organizations to actually get into retail markets, even here in Nairobi. And, you know, there's a governance question around that, and the cartels that are there that actually block farmer access and actually encourage imports of basic commodities that are produced locally. So I think there's something in there that we need to see. Also, the marketing infrastructure isn't necessarily in place, which makes it very expensive for farmers in more remote areas to actually get to the market in a competitive way. So I think the whole infrastructure for that is very, very key. And then finally, I would like to come back to the financing question. Indeed, de-risking is important. And I think, for instance, crop-based and livestock type insurance is there now. I mean, these products are there, but they're not yet fully tailored to the needs of farmers. I think, yes, there is finance, but it doesn't follow the agricultural cycle. Yes, there is pricing, the cost of that finance. It's not really fully taking on board what is needed for planting, harvesting, and so on and so forth. And so I really think we could do certain things if we can get farmer profiles out there, if we can get data, more data on the farm and more data on this perceived risk, then that could actually include a whole lot more farmers than we have reached today.
Thank you. Does that resonate, Theo and Keith? Anything else from an unintended consequence you would add, one of you?
It does resonate, but I think we have to take a step back. Your comments about cartels don't necessarily apply everywhere to the same definition, but I think that's a separate entity from the regenerative aspect of what we're doing on our farms. They are linked because of finances. And it definitely means that it's much tougher when you're going through what you're going through, dealing with a cartel. You don't have the money to do what you want to do on the farm. But we need to take a step back and then follow up what something Theo said this morning about when we're advocating with our governments, we make them put it into their mandate, the actions that we need them to have. So we're supplying an environmental goods and services, by and large, that's mandated by government and wanted by consumers for the public good. So that's where the public needs to step up, i.e. governments need to help fund a lot of the things that we're doing. And if we are able to secure that funding to do these good projects, that then hopefully, and along with government, attract the private sector to come in and complement what we're doing from a financial aspect. Farmers are always trying to do the right thing. I mean, we don't have a choice. We have to make sure that we preserve our soils and our properties and our agricultural operations, not just for us, but for our children and our grandchildren and beyond. And environment's always been built into our action plans, our cropping plans, our livestock rearing plans. That hasn't changed and it never will. The definitions around how we do it it's a moving target. And the one thing that none of us can control, as much as we'd like to, unless somebody can tell me otherwise, is Mother Nature always wins. So trying to adapt to her, and you're right, our climate is changing rapidly. So the more we can put into mitigation as opposed to adaptation, I think the faster we'll get to where we need to be on the biodiversity front and the regeneration front.
Thank you. I saw Pascal wanted to jump in with one.
Yes, I wanted to jump in. I fully agree with what you said, and bouncing on the the role of the private sector. Fully agree. We have a role to play. But regarding financing, there is one thing that honestly myself I struggle to understand, which is I do believe that still the financial sector is still looking at agriculture or approaching that with the same rules of the game than for any other businesses, and looking for the same financial ratios, the same indicators, and so on. And there's one thing, honestly, to me, it looks sometimes that it's probably easier to raise 300 million for one big project rather than 3 million for a project which will impact hundreds of smallholders. Take irrigation, for instance. Irrigation, water, access to water, water availability is a big problem in many, many places. We know what a solution could be. It's change the irrigation system to more efficient, more water efficient system. That has a cost, but the cost is fragmented across many, many small players, and that defeats the traditional rules of financing. And there is a knot here which I think we have not cracked. And I don't have the answer. I'm very sorry, but I see it as a roadblock today.
Thank you, Pascal. And I definitely think that I saw lots of nods around the audience. Let me come to you, Judith. What makes an integrated solution transferable across contexts, and what should not be standardized? Because I think this is the tension that we're talking about here, is this need to standardize, to come up with these frameworks which can make sense at a global conversation, but then the reality at the farm. How would you react to that?
Yeah, thank you, Paul. I would like to say that farming, or rather this business that we have gotten ourselves into, it's not a straight jacket. And so what can be transferred are the principles, but then even as they are transferred, there is need to consider local contexts, local realities, and more above that is to look at what are farmer priorities. So from where I sit, I am bringing in the perspective of partnerships, and farmer is the partner number one. And what I'm trying to look at is these solutions and these terminologies and these frameworks we are talking about here, as we bring them out here for dissemination, for adoption, and of course we are targeting the farmers, we need to already test it with the farmers to know whether it works for them or not. And we should also be open to receive feedback that it's not working, and we see how we go about it. From the Powerful Food Partnership, we are coming from bottom up, doing co-creation together with farmers, partners, and stakeholders. And so we are looking at regenerative agriculture being context specific. Regenerative agriculture as applied in Canada is not what would be applied in Kenya. And also in Kenya, what is applied in Murang'a is not the same as what would have be applied in Kakamega County, for example. There are many other perspectives to look into. So I would like to say in partnerships, it's very important also to consider that it's multi-dimension. So regenerative agriculture is not just the single bullet that would solve the solution. So that's why in Powerful Food Partnership, we bring in the nexus thinking of also looking at productive use of renewable energy. And we know that farmers need healthy soil, they need access to energy, they need access to finance. And so what we are trying to say is, as you produce regeneratively, could we also add value by using productive use of renewable energy, solar drying, solar cooling. We are looking at advancing solar irrigation, looking at the climate risks that already have been highlighted here. You wake up one day as a risk taker, smallholder farmer, you want to plant, already you have planted, for example, then the rains fail or there is flood. So how do you go about that? So this application of the concepts we are talking about should not be standardized. They should be, of course, context specific. But then I would also say what can be standardized is the farmer's voice. Farmers to sit on the table and talk and raise their concerns. That can be standardized. And then also looking at the mistake that philanthropists and development actors make is to copy-paste solutions and hope that what has worked in Murang'a, for example, would work in Kakamega. So that I'm trying to say that it would be important to also involve the farmers and have them prescribe. I want to give a very simple example. My background is extension work, and we have been involving in this extension work with these terminologies. And the extensionists in the house, you could agree with me. There was a time there was lots of talk of soil conservation, talking about having DAP, no punishment intended, but then as a fertilizer, as a solution to smallholder farmers. Right now, we are reverting and talking about the same thing. The same farmer we talked to those years is the same farmer we are talking to right now. And the farmer goes like, you know, I was doing this before you came, and now you have brought in a new thing. And the farmers in the house, I can see them nodding and laughing. But then what I'm trying to say is, you can bring in your voice and choose what to adapt and what works for you. And so what we should do is really look at what are the learnings, and we can standardize the learnings. And the early learnings that are coming from this is that farmer is multidimensional. So let's come to the farmer with open mind and just sit to listen and learn and apply the lessons as we go. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to come to the audience for a couple of questions, but Teo, did you want to jump in there with just a reflection? How is this conversation that we're hearing at the moment making sense as a farm? Like, what's this going to mean tomorrow on the farm? What does that look like? You know, we're talking about these things. What are you going to do differently? Is there anything you're going to do differently? How is this helpful?
Well, I don't fully agree with the angle you come you come to me. This
Rewrite the question then.
regenerative agriculture is not a list of things which you should do or which you should not do. Regenerative agriculture is a mindset. It's a mentality. It's how you approach your profession. Because agriculture is not in harmony with nature. It has never been. Nature does not provide surpluses. Nature always seeks to balance. And we need to produce surpluses to feed the people in cities. So we need to take out the competition. That's why we do weeding in our fields. That's why we need to do predation in our flocks. And by doing that, of course, we are out of step with nature. I've had this wonderful privilege to visit farmers on 6 continents. I've never met a farmer who is not in love with nature, for whom he doesn't do something in his heart when he puts his fingers in the soil. I've never met such a farmer. Farmers will bend backwards to rectify what goes wrong in the production process. And lately, the scientists came up with a number of solutions which we classified as regenerative agriculture. So, a core part of the truth that came out in this debate so far is that there is no silver bullet. There is no one size fits all. And each farmer knows exactly what he can do better on his farm. He knows exactly. It is to get it done. And for that, we need the partnership of the whole value chains, starting with the financing and ending with the consumer.
No, it's so important. I'm going to ask for a couple of quick questions. If I've got a microphone somewhere, I'm going to ask for questions. If you've asked a question already, I'm going to go to somebody else, but I think this gentleman down here we can go to. You need to steal the mic. So if you can just introduce your name and then a question, please. And then we'll have a lady on this side.
God is good all the time. I'm Paul Siret, Chairman, Cooperative Tuyo. Also, I'm the Chairman of the Union in dairy sector in Uasin Gishu County. We as farmers of dairy, we have a lot of challenges. One, first of all, may I thank the organizers of this meeting for organizing a very wonderful meeting today. Also to thank the government of this country, headed by our president. Actually, he has brought a lot of changes in agriculture sector by reducing the fertilizer. We have a lot of challenges here. I thank you, madam. You are an angel to us today. We have a lot of challenges as cooperators. Due to high fuel prices, we would like to request, how can we partner with you people to get solar panel chillers? Again, how can you partner with us so that we get solar pump machines, which can assist our farmers to pump the water? Also, how can you partner with us to have, instead of using motorcycles using fuel, how can we get electric generated motorcycles? because actually that is what it is eating the profit of the farmer. We would like to know how can we get electric motorcycles so that it may actually help our farmers.
Thank you.
Also, we as cooperators, we have a lot of challenges and milk. E.g., we have a lot of antibiotics. How best can we do with you as partners so that we may reduce antibiotics in milk, even the testers, e.g., alcohol, can, all those parameters of testing milk, they are very expensive. How best can we elevate so that we may get in a very subsidy form? In part of SACCO, we as our partners, how best can you finance our SACCO? How best can you finance our SACCO so that we may give to our farmers in a very small percentage, like 3%? Where I come from, we have massive school fees, where a widow could actually deliver 2 kilos of milk, and the chairman of the cooperative will actually pay for his or her total school. How best will you do for us? Because we lead widows, young widows, old widows in the cooperative sector. Please come to our rescue. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. So I think the question was very specifically about a number of different access to finance and technology. And so how can we partner to be able to deliver those electrification, electric motorbikes, solar pumps? So we'll come to that in a second. We have a lady on this side. Is there a lady on this side? Otherwise, we have one here. Okay, I think they need the microphone. Oh, the microphone's coming across. It's okay. We have the mic. Please introduce yourself. Ideally, 1 or 2 questions, very short. Please, we've got time. Challenge.
Good evening, all farmers. I thank World Farmers Organization for enabling us to be here today. Actually, it's my first time to attend, and I love it. I'm talking on behalf of the smallholder farmers in Kenya. I happen to come from Trans Nzoia County, where I represent over 5,000 groups of farmers. And as we speak, the farmers in Trans Nzoia County who are earning below $1 per day. So we can talk about them having 1 meal per day. Good agricultural practices require finances. And our financing institutions in Kenya here, they're at 22%. We know in Germany, Netherlands, and US, the economy has grown because of low interest loans, and even in Rwanda. So my question is, as we continue to talk about finances, and now it also, my appeal also goes to the government of Kenya. What will happen to these farmers? Because you understand farming is a risk that we take to do. What will happen? We also have chicken producers. There's this value chain called value chain. The vaccines when are being transported, we end up losing that value of cold chain. And you find out that women are doing vaccination and they end up losing their chicken. And that can be controlled. Again, as we talk about restoration of degraded soils, do all farmers have the training? Do they have the knowledge of doing it correctly as we continue to work on our soils? We've talked about data. We've had presenters talking about data. As the Minister of Agriculture continues to do capacity building to our smallholder farmers, are they doing the correct data? Do some smallholder farmers know that they're in business? Because I happen to do trainings in some counties, and when you're speaking to the farmers, the 8 counties in Kenya, you find out that they only do for food and they don't care what comes out. So growing as a country, or maybe in Africa, becomes a problem. Another thing is that as we go back home, Are we really going to talk to our farmers about the low income month in our countries and the drought? How best can we prepare? Yes, we have technologies that we are, technology and innovations that we have come up with. Like weeds in Kenya, we throw them away. But currently we can convert them into feed, mixing with concentrates. How can we do that without funds? Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I really appreciate the question of the inequality in the system of what you were talking about in terms of different farmers having access to resources. And I think this is something we can respond to in the conversation, because as all of these practices become at a cost, but there's also the learning that you were talking about there and the importance there. Yeah, please.
So I just like to address you talked about soil degradation and how much of an issue it is, and you know I'm always a little bit of a skeptic around United Nations programs. But last year in Belém, Brazil, the UN announced the RIAS program, which is specifically to address soil degradation. It's not an initiative that's going to help you tomorrow. But beyond tomorrow, I'm really encouraged by the initiative where they're going to start focusing on the areas of the world that are affected most by soil degradation. So it's something to build on for not only countries, but continents and other entities, in particular environmental entities, how they can build off of the RIAS program to further that soil degradation problem and bring a solution to it.
Any other comments from the panel before we? Yes, please.
Yeah, just a quick response to the cooperator about where to get the renewable energy solutions. Just outside there, we have a booth called Powerful Food Partnership by SNV. We could link you up with the private sector providers who are doing this. And with this, then we will be able to support you with the after-sales service and also assure quality of those technologies that you would like to access. And maybe also just to interest you that there will be a dedicated session to discuss this tomorrow at 4 to 5:30, where you could join a side event discussing productive use of renewable energy and also regenerative agriculture, also sharing evidence from Kenya that we have done for the last 1 year. So you're most welcome to join us, and we will be able to support on that front. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to say something?
This conversation is exactly what we need to discuss. My question is around what's the real cost of food? We talk about regenerative agriculture, but what is the real cost of actually producing this food, which is built on regenerative practices? And I think as long as we cannot cost water, soil, nature, etc., biodiversity, and really plug it in so that we can have the real price of food. And I think that's where everything starts. And I mean, for many years, we've been paying farmers less and not for environmental services. And so if we can cost it, then we might be able to understand what is the real cost and what is the investment required to actually adopt these practices at scale across landscapes.
When the question is, how can I get access to this kind of technology? How can you help me to get my hands on that kind of equipment? We can't afford it. What I hear in the smallholder environment is, how can I even be competitive if I do not have that basic access? Now, there is no magic wand to bring it to you, except the closest we can get as farmers to a magic wand in the smallholder sector is the cooperative. How many farmers do you know in the smallholder sector who can buy a tractor today or an electrical motorcycle? They can't. They can't even put enough food on the table, as we have heard from the young farmer on that end. But 50 of them together can. 100 of them together become bankable. The trick is to organize ourselves in the business structures so that the glue keeping us together becomes the technology. This was one of the biggest lessons I've learned in my very first visit to Germany when I was president of SACAO and I was taken to the mechanization rings. And in this most advanced agricultural environment, the farmers organized themselves in cooperatives and they put the tractors and the implements in there. And they don't own it themselves, they own it as a collective. And now everybody has that access. We need to rediscover the magic of cooperatives.
Thank you, Theo. Okay, we're at time, unfortunately. This conversation, I feel, could go for a few hours, and we would, we're really getting to the heart of it. A quick lightning round, one sentence responses, please, if you can. What do you believe is the single most important action that could accelerate regenerative and resilient agriculture over the next 5 years? Let me ask you, Keith, to go first.
I'm not sure it's possible to answer with a single thing that's going to
give it a try. You can have two.
I think it's going to have to come down to collective energy. Collectively in our regional areas of where we live, the farmers are going to have to collectively come together on how you make changes, whether that's within government mandates, whether that's in perception by the consumer in order to put pressure on governments, whether that's to influence private sector investment. But I think it's that collective, kind of like a cooperative theme, Theo, that collective energy to drive forward what you need for your area, because it's different across the world.
Thank you. Judith?
Thank you, Paul. I would say breaking the silos. We are talking about multidimensional benefits and risks and challenges that we have. But in the room, do we have somebody who is representing energy? We are talking about solar here. Do we have people from energy? We are talking about health. Do we have people from health? So for me, I would say, let's break the silos. Let's work together for a wholesome benefit for the farmers and also for the partners. Thank you.
Pascal?
If you allow me, I will quote two, but one is the foundation. To me, it's the technical support, localized, because there is no silver bullet, and this is what ensures that whatever is done is relevant at local level. That, to me, that's a given. And then I think I would say around the collective actions and the power of the coalition. I think having an aligned framework and an aligned strategy and aligned ambition, like the framework we saw from Region 10, or I mentioned the SAI platform, that would leverage and unleash a lot of energies, because if tomorrow everybody can run with the same direction and the same rule of the game and the same data, the same targets, the same outcomes. We mentioned outcomes, it's super important, that it is outcome-based rather than on a set of cooking recipe practices. I think this would help a lot.
Thank you. Sarah?
Thank you. I think it's, again, I think it's data, around landscapes, specific farming spaces. So having that data, and then the finance. Those two things combined will really enable farmers to adopt and practice. Without the two, if you don't know, your soil profile, etc., the data will help you understand that, and then the finance should allow you to adopt the practices and technologies that are needed for scale.
Thank you. Kagwira?
I think Matteo said it so beautifully when he said that he's never met a farmer who is not in tune or in connected to the soil and to nature. So I think and truly believe that farmers are the center of that transition.
Thank you. Teo? Yes. I think that deserves a clap. Yes. A little bit more a clap.
By far, the most we can do about regenerative agriculture is done in our relationship to the soils. It's how we work it, how we turn it, how we fertilize it, how we irrigate it, and so. And it's all about that microscopic life beneath the surface. The most important forms of life, we are all dependent on that. And what you invest in your soils as a farmer, you have the direct benefit of it. I still nurture this dream of utilizing the network in this organization to come to a peer group farmer to farmer pledge. Mine would say, I, Theo de Jager of the farm Red Bank in Limpopo, I promise that I will give this piece of land over to the next generation in a better condition than what I received it. And if 10% of the world's farmers can do that, we would have solved 90% of the issues around biodiversity and climate and nature.
Well, thank you. We're going to bring the discussion to a close, but I think the challenge is not a lack of ideas. There are many ideas. There are solutions. There are farmers waking up every day connected to nature, connected to the place and the space that they live, breathe, cherish. And I think it's about how can we create the conditions and for these solutions to move forward. And I think we've talked to some of those frameworks, some of those conversations, some of those opportunities, but also some of those challenges that we need to find ways through. We've heard a reminder there are no silver bullets. And I think when you accept that it's going to be difficult, then it's difficult. We have to move through that and we have to find a way. And farmers together, the collective, or as you put it, Theo, the magic of coming together is so important. And I think this is really key. So thank you to each of our speakers. Thank you for all participating in this conversation. The path forward may look different for all of us, different contexts, different countries, but the destination is that shared resilient farming systems, leaving them better than we were using them or in them, and how do we nourish that so that we can continue to feed the world. And so thank you to all of our brilliant speakers. Can we have a clap for them, and speakers please come forward for a short photograph. So our next session, our break is going to come later, not just now, but our next session is going to be turning our attention to an important question of what comes next. And the session is around driving outcomes for farmers in Kenya, a global partnership story that's going to explore future fields, investing in farmer organizations and empowering communities for sustainable agriculture. So we're going to transition Nimrod Tebe. Nimrod, are you here? Perfect. I'm going to hand to you, and you can. The floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. What was that second name?
Tebe.
No. Tabu. Tabu means problems.
It means problems.
Yes.
You seem like
No.
Solutions.
Swahili means problems.
But you seem
yes,
like you're providing solutions.
Full of them.
Ah.
Thank you. Good to see you, sir.
Tabu.
That was a wonderful
Tabu.
moderation.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
a round of applause to a wonderful moderator, ladies and gentlemen. Asante sana. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Look, I'm supposed to be a moderator, but I like working with many hats. I like working as an MC, as a moderator, as a journalist, and also as a farmer today. All right? Are you guys okay? I was seeing a few sleepy faces, sleepy eyes. Some of you are struggling, swaying your heads from left to right. Can we just do this for a minute? Can you be upstanding? Just for a minute. Hey, nimeanza tabu. Mheshimiwa Nyaga. And then let's sit down. Please sit down. And then get back up again, please. Let's stand. And then back down again. Last time, up. And back down again. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. As mentioned earlier, we're driving the outcomes for farmers in Kenya, a global partnership story. This is in conjunction with CropLife, right? I know it's in the afternoon, but I'd like you to do a pledge with me before we start, and then I can introduce my panelists. Sawa sawa? Hamjambo tena. Yeah, I want you to be lively, all right? So please do as I do. Put your hand on your chest. It could be your left side or right side, whichever. And then please promise to say this after me. Sawa? As I said, I'm being problematic, but for good reason, all right? So say it after me. I know it's late in the afternoon, and I'm struggling with sleep, but I promise to stay alert for the next 1 hour. I will fight this sleep with all my might. This I pledge. Asanteni sana. All right, clap for yourselves. I think now we can begin, right? All right. I want to do it differently because we're pressed for time. Normally, I would ask our presenter to come and do a few welcome remarks and also do their presentation, but I like all of them to come and sit here together. The danger with bringing now in the afternoon the presenter first is he might think he has, or she, all the time to talk and then give us very little time for the moderated session, isn't it? So do we agree I change it a little bit, yeah? So that I bring all my guests and then one presenter. I think I only have 2 presenters, and then we'll share a video, and then we can have a wonderful discussion. Very briefly, our introduction today. We continue to grapple with global challenges, including strengthening environmental stewardship, advancing socio-economic development, and reducing inequalities. Internationally recognized standards provide an important foundation in addressing these issues. However, implementing such standards must be locally relevant to achieve meaningful outcomes. When local contexts or stakeholder participations are overlooked, progress may end up becoming uneven, one-sided, or short-sighted. Underpinned by the FAO, WHO, International Code of Conduct, and Pesticide Management, CropLife International launched the Sustainable Pesticide Management Framework, also known as SPMF program, in 2021, with Kenya serving as a flagship country. The program in Kenya concluded in 2025 and demonstrated a strong example achieving global standards through local tailored solutions and partnerships. This panel session brings together different partners of the SPMF Kenya program to illustrate how different stakeholders, roles, perspectives come together to effect holistic action, system change, as well as inclusive outcomes. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me now to invite my guests who will join me on the podium and take a seat. May I first start by inviting on stage Dr. Paul Ngaruya from the Pest Control Products Board, the regulatory representative. Karibu sana, Dr. Ngaruya, if you're here, and we can welcome him with a round of applause. Is Dr. Ngaruya? Dr. Paul Ngaruya, PCPB? Will join us in a couple of minutes, all right? Next, I'd like to invite on stage Laureen Njuguna, who's a farmer, representing Starlight Farmer Cooperative Society. She's a representative from the farmers. Karibu sana, welcome. Let's give her a round of applause. I'd like to invite Bwana Julius Nyabicha from the Cereal Growers Association. This is a value chain representative. I know I saw him at the back. Karibu sana, you're welcome to join us on the podium. Let's give him a round applause, a warm applause. I also want to invite on stage Lois Nyambura, a representative of the youth, representing the 4K Club, and she's a patron of the 4K Club. Karibu sana. Asante sana. Welcome on stage. Dr. Paul Ngaruya, has he been said? Daktari, how are you, sir? Welcome, sir. Karibu sana. I'd like also to invite on stage Stella Simiyu, who is the Chief Executive Officer of CropLife Kenya, Middle East, and Africa. Karibu sana, Madam Stella. Thank you so much. She'll be one of our speakers and she'll do a presentation. Karibu sana. But for our first speaker this afternoon, I'd like to invite Mr. Joel Mutai, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Agrochemicals Association of Kenya, Grow Kenya. Karibu sana. He'll be our first presenter. I know he'll be mindful of time, and then we'll get our second presenter and start off our discussions. Karibu sana.
Thank you very much, Nibrot. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. I think I'll be very conscious of time, but mine is just to introduce that as AAK Grow, Agrochemical Association of Kenya, CropLife Network, we want to take this opportunity as a golden chance that has been offered to us by the World Farmers Federation, WFO, as an event, as a partner to the farmers in terms of provision of the solution. In terms of production of food, we are partnering with farmers, and I like that message has been actually passed all together here. And we have been at the tail end of a very serious contribution supported by our CropLife network, which is called Sustainable Pesticide Management. And in this one, it's just so that we can be able to make the farmer use the technologies responsibly. You are aware that the kind of technologies we hover in most of the time are said to be poisonous. And indeed, there are serious guidelines on which you are supposed to follow for you to be able to use it. Again, the issue of climate change has been emphasized here, and that is why the farmers are facing the biggest challenge. In terms of this project, which we did as CropLife Network, we were lucky as a country to be supported by CropLife International, one lucky country in Africa. The rest was the next was Morocco. We only two in Africa. Then my colleague will talk about the others in this as he go to the details of this sustainable pesticide management in Latin America and also Asia. But allow me to mention that the key highlights of exactly what did we achieve as a country. In that perspective, as I told you, we are dealing with solutions that requires and is highly regulated. We are focusing on empowering key regulations that can actually make that particular product be used responsibly and professionalized. And we are focusing on the laws, the regulations that are there, of course, focusing on the pest control regulations so that it provides better kind of regulations of this produce, focusing on how the agro dealer, the shop, the retailer is actually dispensing the products. The regulation focused on making it better for anybody who is dealing with it to have better qualification, because I know farmers, somebody can advise you wrongly, but when we have a regulation that makes sure that whoever is dispensing it is also professional, then you can be served better as a farmer. Again, remember farmers, I know you are facing a lot of counterfeits. This is a fight that we are fighting as concerted effort with all the multi-stakeholders, and we are able to use that particular project, of course, to make sure that systems are in place to actually trim down counterfeiters, and even the laws are becoming very punitive for such. Now, on the innovation side, remember, these are solutions that the dilemma is big. The best are very many, and diseases are just, the influx are too high. But then at the same time, We are very conscious on the issues of misuse and just also a presence of mandate, Best Control Product Board and anybody else, so that at least there are guidelines again on the use of these drones. The drone technology, we can be able to dispense the right kind of doses for use to manage the pests and diseases. We have established collection centers. We have established Poison Information Center with partnering with Kenyatta National Hospital, so that in case somebody is exposed, quickly you call a number, of course toll free, to filter, because some farmers are asking the doctor, is there a poison case? So we have actually made it even to filter, so that what goes to the doctor is very specific. So we are actually also impact of the same in terms of, so that whatever comes out of expertise that is in Kenya, we are country. It is so by marking it all of us. So we are also very keen. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Now for the introduction, so that we get to understand the Sustainable Pesticide Management Framework and why it was established or started as a program in 2021 with Kenya serving as the flagship country. Let me now invite Madam Stella Simiyu, who is the Director General and the Chief Executive Officer of CropLife Africa and the Middle East. Karibu sana.
Thank you, Nimrod. Thank you, IT team. Just to save on time, I want to go straight to the presentation. Thank you very much, World Farmers Organization, for having CropLife on this session. So I'll take us briefly through the Sustainable Pesticide Management Framework on behalf of CropLife International and also on behalf of CropLife Africa, Middle East, where we Thank you, IT. As a way of thinking, management, especially for the developing countries, and specifically the pilot countries that we were looking into. We all know that pesticides are essential tools for farmers to help manage crop yield, and by CEO CropLife Kenya, economic changes, pest conditions that are very different from the regions. So one size fits all policy approaches is not possible. So you need to tailor-make according to the pests. We know that here in the tropics, and someone spoke about the tropics yesterday, our pests, or the pests that attack our food, are very many. And we have invasions. We had locusts, we had fall armyworm. Here in Kenya, we have the snail attacking rice. We also have cholera bats that are really focused on this region. Yes, that we want access to innovations and framework, the whole network in 2021, as has been mentioned, changing or repurposing pesticide management and stewardship. So how do we repurpose that? Starting from Kenya, the commitment countries. So there were three pillars that we wanted to look at. And one was the need to recognize transition. Highly hazardous pesticide management cannot fast acting, so they should not expect the results on the day they apply. So that means they need to build it in their IPM program early enough. Is responsible and effective use. And CEO talked up there. But now we are happy that this is there. So anyone handling pesticide needs to have certain qualifications. I think that is really a system change and training residue out of the SPM. So the achievements have been mentioned out of the SPM. So the achievements have been mentioned, and I think the panel will touch on it. Regulatory maturity have been mentioned, and I think the panel will touch on it. Regulatory maturity, and I think the panel will touch on it. Regulatory maturity, innovations, drones, pilot management. Kenya has been very supporting the country we are looking at. So I think
agriculture remains one of Kenya's most important economic drivers, supporting millions of livelihoods across the country. In 2021, Kenya more sustainable agriculture, first on strengthening regulatory systems, supporting innovation, and promoting responsible pesticide use. Over the past 5 years, Kenya has emerged as a regional leader in sustainable pesticide management through partnerships between government, industry, researchers, healthcare institutions, and farming communities. This residue studies conduct Kenya's national pesticide residue monitoring framework in 2025. In 2023, the Poison Information Center at Kenyatta National Hospital was relaunched, supporting a 24-hour national response system and training over 2,000 healthcare professionals.
Since the relaunch, we have our different better communication model. We have our calls being screened fast by an agronomist because we were called scenario medical emergency.
Kenya also modernized approximately 30 tons seized through multi-agency operations.
We have a number of other government agencies. So this program of SPMF has also supported.
In 2024, regulators from Kenya and the East African community were trained in biopesticide evaluation, helping strengthen regional capacity and harmonization.
There's been registration of biopesticides, what is done globally, and therefore we have seen a lot of considerable growth.
Beginning in 2020, support was provided to strengthen digital registration systems and improve regulatory efficiency within the Pest Control Products Board. The program also supported the adoption of climate-smart technologies, including digital systems and precision agriculture tools, while scientific baseline studies continued informing policy and innovation uptake.
We've had a training and capacity building where CropLife Kenya was very kind to support some farmers in some spray service providers with actually drawn licenses from the DJI, so they were exposed to that.
Since 2022, thousands of farmers, agro-dealers, spray service providers, and technical staff have been trained on good agricultural practices and integrated pest management.
Be able to ensure that those of us who are in these tropics are able to deliver quality, fresh crops into different parts of the world.
More than 21 tons of pesticide containers were collected in 2024 alone, while the Hazardous Waste Producer Responsibility Organization,
the PRO, that is the scheme to take care of the waste of the members.
We teach farmers not only on how to use the pesticides, but on how to treat the empty containers after the use of these pesticides.
Through the Stewardship Mashinani initiative, community health promoters reached 5,000 households with grassroots awareness on safe pesticide use. National awareness campaigns on food safety, herbicide stewardship, poison response, and anti-counterfeit products reached millions of Kenyans across the country. Over 5 years, the Sustainable Pesticide Management Framework has helped strengthen safer and smarter agriculture in Kenya. From regulatory reforms and food safety systems to innovation, farmer training, and public awareness, the program has created a strong foundation for sustainable pesticide management. As the program comes to an end, the partnerships, systems, and knowledge established will continue shaping Kenya's agricultural future for generations to come.
At AAK Grow CropLife Kenya, we are very thankful to the CropLife fraternity for considering Kenya as the Sustainable Pesticide Management Framework pilot country. The resources that were provided have enabled us to set a very strong foundation for sustainable agriculture in the country.
Thank you, media. Thank you so much. Thank you, CropLife. I think we only have about 20 minutes here on stage and then open the floor for about 10 minutes and then get your responses as well from the audience. But my first question is this, is that why was it important to embark on the SPMF program in 2021? And what have your organizations done over the last 5 years? This question goes to Dr. Paul Ngaruya, Julius Nyabicha, Mr. Joel Mutai, and then finally Stella Simiyu, in that order.
Thank you very much, Nimrod, for this opportunity. Also for giving us the chance to discuss this issue on the pesticide. Just to pick your name, but yeah, you are part of PCPB. So PCPB is a regulatory agency that regulates pesticide crop life in this program. We have actually
people could frame what kind of partners we want to. The core example that I want to use is the one on baseline study. There is a notion in this country and just in Africa that most of the produce that we eat are full of residues. And when we did the baseline study, of course, not us, because we didn't want to be participating, we wanted the partners to do it and with our support. And we found the figures that you saw, 95%. I checked what Europe are doing in using the EFSA, and they usually say that their level of compliance is 98%. So maybe it is also very prudent for us as partners, all of us together. Why don't we organize a big kind of sampling together? Let's see how it looks like for major produce, so that all of us, we partner. Finance people, let's partner. Any other NGO, let's partner for the sake of the country, so that we can assure the exporters that whatever is coming from Kenya is actually edible. Because if it is having residues, then you cannot just send residues to other people. So that is my take, and thank you for that.
And Stella, as you make your contribution, maybe I could follow up with this question. The framework that we're discussing here today, is it in line with the trends globally?
Thank you, Nimrod. I'll start with your last question about it being in line with the trends globally. In the presentation, I mentioned the FAO Code of Conduct on Pesticide Management. So that I would say is the Bible of the industry in terms of the responsibilities that have been put there for training the farmers on responsible use. Secondly, I'll mention that around the time the Code of Conduct was being revised, 2014, there was also an international conference on chemicals management, which one of the topics or the focus was on highly hazardous pesticide. And in that conference, there was a resolution on stakeholders making concerted efforts to ensure that HHPs are effectively managed in their environments. Following that, 2016, there was an FAO guideline on how to manage the HHPs. So I would say that this framework, or looking at especially pillar one of this project, was really responding to the global challenges. It was also responding to the global practices that were being put in place. And I think everyone is aware about the target A7 of the global framework on chemicals, which provides the transition measures for HHP. So this project was one, in a way, a response to how do we demonstrate change? And Kenya being chosen as a pilot, at that time, there was a lot of information about residues. And so the choice was made from what we were receiving as feedback from the National Association, what were the critical challenges that the Kenya was facing, and also responding to the global challenges that have asked stakeholders to make concerted efforts on this issue. So I would say, one, it was responding to global practices. When you come to responsible use, again, this is a global initiative, and as I showed, Asia, Latin America countries, and Africa, Middle East countries are part of the global network. Yesterday I mentioned that we have 95 national associations, and we have this stewardship vision that looks at following the product, or our members following their products from R&D
all the way to waste management. And the vision is to ensure that we contribute to ecosystem management, we contribute to saving biodiversity, and really looking at how do we ensure that IPM is taken up by the farmers. The first question you had asked was about the challenges, what led us to this project. And I mentioned some of the challenges, especially in our region, Africa, Middle East. You'll find two economies, informal and formal economy. And you had us talk about the professionalization or formalization of services to farmers when it comes to pesticide management. So this looks at the challenges the farmer is facing and how do we respond as an industry to ensure that that farmer, the smallholder farmer in the village, is able to interpret or to be helped to interpret if they must use the chemical pesticide, how then to use it. And the third pillar on innovation, maybe just I mentioned briefly that if you compare the registrations of crop protection tools in our region and other regions, the toolbox for the farmer in our region is very small. So the question is, how do we attract new innovations, safer innovations, low-risk innovations to our countries? And one way, and I'm glad Kenya has done, is to revise the provisions, especially in the regulations, so that we attract innovations to come to our country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stella. Let's hear, I think it's a good time now to hear from the farmers. And we have Laureen here, representing the Farmer Cooperative Society, and also Lois, who is a youth representative, 4K Club. My question is this, is that whether you feel that some of these policies or frameworks have put farmers at the center, because if not, then a lot of these policies or frameworks might be sometimes meaningless if the farmer is not at the center of them. Let me start with you, Lauren.
Thank you, Nimrod. I come from a farmers cooperative. We are based in Nakuru, Starlight Farmers Cooperative. And I can say this initiative, for us, it has reached the farmers on the ground. We have been championing this initiative through training of farmers in safe handling of pesticides. And we do it in a very simple way, in a way that the farmers can understand. We use farmer field schools, whereby we establish demonstration farms. And on those farms, we then train the farmers. How can they do the spraying, right? Using the spraying service providers whom we have talked about. As a cooperative, we had 30 youth trained as spraying service providers. And also we equipped them with the safe spraying gears, which they can dress the right way, and they can go and provide these services to the farmers. In addition, we train the farmers on how to read the labels. We have heard about the labels and the digital platform. On the ground, we are teaching them, how do you read a label? How do you identify if a product is safe to use? How do you identify if a product is expired or not? How do you identify if a product is registered or not? In addition, we are also training farmers on storage of these pesticides, because initially, especially in our cooperative, the experience is that the farmers were storing these pesticides in the kitchen counters or even under their beds. And now we are training them on how to build stores outside the house and store these pesticides safely. So that is one of the things we are doing. In addition, we have the waste management sites. We have set 6 of them in our region, which is in a sub-county. And we have these spraying service providers managing these waste collection centers, where after our farmers have sprayed, they can go and dispose the containers. And not only setting the disposal centers, we are training the farmers, why should they dispose this right? Because if we don't, most of them will dispose them in our water sources. And also, we have seen school-going children carrying water with these containers. So we have taken the initiative on the ground to ensure that the farmers understand why they should dispose them right, and at the right place and at the right time. Allow me just to mention also, because of climate change, we also are implementing integrated pest management. It's not only just about using the pesticides, but also teaching the farmer when should you use these pesticides.
and how should you use them. We are using techniques like crop rotation. Instead of using pesticides, using crop rotation, and also doing crop scouting and treating the specifically sick crops. So those are part of the things we are doing on the ground. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nimrod, for this chance. As you mentioned, I'm Lois, patron for K Club. One may wonder why talk of the young farmers. And here I'm talking of two kind of farmers. I'm talking about the young farmer that I'm molding, and also the parent who is the other farmer who is currently carrying out the agricultural activities. So through the club activities, we are able, as Lorraine has mentioned, to explain to these learners, where do we get these pesticides that are legal? Because a farmer who is lacking the knowledge out of ignorance may be confused by someone who tells this farmer that this chemical costs you 2,000 shillings at the aggregate, and I have an alternative of 400 shillings. So if we have given this learner the knowledge that they need to check the labels, the chemicals need to be bought from the aggregate. This learner will pass the information to the parent, and the parent, when this person will come with the idea of selling the counterfeit chemicals, will have the second thought and know that this is not something that is legal. So we are able to reach the parents through the learners that we are teaching how to handle these chemicals. You find that when a farmer, out of ignorance, lack of knowledge, goes to an aggregate and purchases the agrochemicals, mixes them with the commodities that he or she is going to use at home. Maybe there is wheat flour there is rice, there will be that contamination. So we pass the information to the learners that these chemicals need to be carried separately from the food that we are going to eat to avoid contamination. So we are able to reach the youths that we are teaching, as well as the farmers who are at home, maybe who are lacking that particular knowledge. Again, these farmers, when we talk of the pesticides, they are able to assess. I have a small kitchen garden, and there are a few snails on my strawberries. Do I need to use the pesticide? So we bring in the idea of IPM, whereby we can be able to handpick those snails or slugs instead of going for the pesticides, and yet the damage is not too much. So we also train them on how to assess the damage that is there. And through that, we are training these future farmers. Remember, the youths are going to be the future farmers. So the elderlies are going to get tired along the way. So if we impart the right knowledge to these particular youths, then they are able to do the right thing, ensure that we are eating healthy food that does not have the residues of the chemicals, because also we are able to teach these learners how to check the PHI, the pre-harvest interval. One may buy a pesticide that is supposed to take 14 days before consumption of the commodity. And maybe the market is here. I need to sell my tomatoes. I need to sell my potatoes. So do I allow the market to pass by because 3 days are remaining to the interval to be over? So we teach them that it is necessary that they wait for that particular interval, so that we reduce the amount of residues that are left in that food, so that we make sure that the farmers that are consuming what we produce do not take the chemicals that are likely to cause health problems to them.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lois. Let me open the floor now. We have just about 7 minutes to wind up. I see a hand at the back. May I have 2 or 3 very brief questions, because I know my bell is going to ring shortly. All right? Let's start with the gentleman who's standing at the far right, because he stood up first. And then I need this gentleman at the middle, and then one lady, please. Yes, the lady on my right. All right, just those three, please. Asante.
Thank you very much. My name is Simon Osichira. I'm a farmer, and with a bias in livestock and environment specialization. This question I wanted to ask yesterday to Maxi of UNEP, but I think this is the right forum now to get this question. The panel led by Dr. Ngaruya, I would like you to comment on the aspect of antimicrobial resistance with respect to use of these agrochemicals by farmers, and to what extent is that a threat to the health of consumers, and what strategies do you have, maybe linkages between agricultural produce or producers and the medical world, the hospitals?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. In the middle, right here. Yes. And then the lady at the far right here. Please be brief, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Innocent Ashambok from Zambia. I'm the business development manager for Vision Fund.
Welcome. Thank you.
Now, here is I want to connect what we are discussing to what we discussed earlier on. And there's a challenge there. Earlier on, we talked about the issue of agriculture financing. So under agriculture financing, especially that which is green, and when it comes to chemicals, there is somehow a war between the two fields because there are challenges that come in. For example, there is a strict eligibility criteria when it comes to green financing. Main farm activities may not qualify as green, limiting financing access for smallholder farmers. So because of that, we risk exclusion or excluding smallholder farmers because they may be left out due to inability to meet green criteria or documentation requirements, especially green criteria. So how do the two marry? When we have the chemicals around, the smallholder farmers are not meeting the criteria, but we must finance them. So how do you
Thank you.
put the two together?
Thank you, sir.
Because
Thank you.
two disagreed cannot work together.
Thank you, sir. And finally, the lady at the back, my right side. Please stand so that they can see you. There you go. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, and thank you, colleagues, for sharing those comments that have come up. Mine is a comment. As I mentioned, I work with farmer organization. The challenge we are now facing is resistance to pests by crops. How do we break down the knowledge about active ingredients to our farmers? Because what is currently happening is that a farmer will use a chemical that has a certain active ingredient, and then when the next season comes, they go buy the same chemical, and if it doesn't work, they condemn that company and go to another company, but still buy the same active ingredient. So we are currently trying to educate our farmers in Cereal Growers Association on how to keep a record of the chemical they have bought, so that we're able to help them know they need to change so that they don't continuously use the same active ingredient over and over again. And this increases chances of pest resistance when it comes to managing pests. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I know my time is almost on the red. Timekeeper, is it possible just to get 4 minutes? Just max 2 minutes? All right, so that we get the answers, and then I'll skip the summary and I'll let Madam Stella do the closing. Dr. Ngaruya, Bwana Joel, and Bwana Nyabicha, I want you to respond to those questions, and then I'll give a few seconds to Madam Stella to just do the closing.
Thank you very much. I think I'll go straight to the question that was raised by Simon on antimicrobial resistance. Indeed, it is true that a few bacteria or fungi may attack crops, but as a general principle, we regulators of pest control products do not allow use and registration of antibiotics in crops in general. Priority is given for management of human diseases and animal diseases. So we don't register products that have antibiotic activity. Even those that have similar mode of action, we had to review them and remove them from the Kenyan market. So generally speaking, for bacterial diseases, we go for other control methods, like even before the disease occurs, you can use protective.
Gentlemen, we've come to the end of this session. I'd like to hand over back to you, Sas. Hand over back to you, Sas.
Can you help me get everyone back in their seats in 20 minutes? So you're going to grab someone's hand, take them for coffee, and then bring them back here in 20 minutes. You'll hear the bell. Please. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. It's super exciting. Thank you for coming back. We have a short while together now, and so we want to maximize our time. Across the world, women farmers are producers, and they're leading innovation all over the world. The contributions are the heartbeat of nourishment to move beyond recognition. Women farmers better support their mission to a sustainable food production. To guide us through this discussion, I'm pleased, who is the Managing Director for Andreas Hermes Academy. Please, can you take the stage? The floor is yours. Can we get some energy, some welcome?
Yeah, my name is Andreas Quirin, mandated by the German farmers, other farmer organizations, and we also do organizational development in Germany, Europe. Important topic. It's about who of you know a strong leader, a woman in the world. Have two of them on stage, so I'd like to invite on stage I'd like to invite on stage Valerie Otieno. Valerie Otieno, she is from but she's also serving for the discussion 3 more women leaders. So Angelina, she's a FAO Kenya representative. US, and she's responsible CEO and president of the US Dairy Export Council. Welcome, Krista. So I will take the seat next to you. Thank you that you are here. Paul described already briefly, so what are the topics we are talking about? So we use and resilient food systems. If you don't know, you will hear the proof of concept. Look on the other side, who are the reflected? It will be. So please give an applause. To women starter intervention minutes, give us an with Kenaf, and you're a farmer yourself, so give us a perspective. What is happening on the ground? How do you experience women in this process?
In times of scarce resources, is there really a national farmers organization? Thank you.
In terms of our work, let me take you through the journey of layering and sequencing for empowerment. And I would like, since I'm here in Kenya, I would like to use the story of Beatrice, who is a young female farmer from Mwiga area program in Njeri. Is it Njeri County? That's what I heard. Yeah, so I'm trying to think. Problem. Value chains. Beatrice's father went through this Beatrice's father went through this process, and it changed his mindset and allocated a piece of land to Beatrice to start her value chain on poultry. There comes the next challenge. We have multiple challenges, right? Where does she start? She doesn't even have financing, startup capital to start her poultry value chain. World Vision then came in with access to finance projects. And we begin with what you have. Organizing women in groups of 15 to 25 members to save together. We call this approach savings for transformation, because at the end of it, we want to see a transformation whereby members are not just borrowing for household consumption, but they are borrowing to invest in their business enterprises. Beatrice became a member of a saving group. That was her first point of contact to get a loan from a saving group, because members lent to each other. They saved together and they lent amongst each other. She got a loan. She bought 10 chicks to start her poultry value chain, which was something fundamental, because in a saving group, they are trained leadership skills, how to run a group. They are trained on gender inclusive financial literacy. They are trained on women economic empowerment. They're even trained on budgeting for child well-being, because we are talking of a household here. But then the challenge is, when she bought 10 chicks, she didn't have knowledge on how to do poultry value chain as a business. In her mind, if she has 10 chicks, that is it. She raises the chicks and then sells at the market. But all her 10 chicks, they died because she didn't have that knowledge. And that brings me to the third layering. You have done empowered worldview mindset. You have organized them into a saving group. They now have the first access to finance. Now they need the knowledge, market knowledge access, right? We call it the inclusive market knowledge and access approach, whereby we are going to the same farmer to train them on market knowledge. And we are training them on 5 pillars on market knowledge. If they want to take a route of becoming a cooperative or a producer group as a saving group, they get trained on producer group formation and coordination. They also get trained on entrepreneurial skills and financial literacy. They get trained on sustainable production and environmental sustainability, and they're trained on mindset and behavior change for the business. But as their vision continues to grow, they need access to finance. So Vision Fund, a microfinance arm of World Vision, then comes in to offer access to loans, what we call finance for accelerating savings for transformation, which is a loan given to a saving group, because they are already in a group which is serving as a collateral. We have another product for producer groups called Credit Enterprise. Tomorrow we have a detailed session. You can come and listen more. So that is the fourth pillar on access to affordable finance. But we are also digitizing. We heard about the time limitations, right? As a woman, we are digitizing our savings groups, working with Dreamstart Labs to ensure that all their records are digital, which actually helps the microfinance to look at their information on a digital platform, which groups are ready to get a microfinance. We are digitizing the producer groups through partnerships with Farm Concern International. For example, we are digitizing all the trainings on the value chain. So they are also able to engage directly with the suppliers and the buyers and be able to do gross margin analysis themselves. And with MasterCard, we are also partnering on the offline payment systems as well. So you can see that it is integrated. The same farmer, woman farmer, integrated, layered, and sequenced approaches. Mostly if we undertake siloed approaches, we'll keep on playing the snakes and ladders game. We know it, right? You play it, you get bitten by a snake, you go down to the bottom of the economic ladder. And year after year, we'll be speaking about the same challenges. So this is my challenge. Let's package the interventions in a layered, sequenced, integrated manner. Thank you.
Thank you, Angelina, also for showing us the whole issue starting from the household. Now we go in the other direction. Farai, from your experience as FAO representative for Kenya, FAO has always a good data set, knows what really happens. So looking from that perspective, what are most proven ways of work?
Thank you.
And even if it's not fair, but I would still ask you also to stay limited in time so we still have enough time for discussion.
Okay, thank you very much, Andreas, and good afternoon, everyone. Let me start off by saying that FAO positions gender equality as a central pillar in achieving global food security, improved nutrition, and sustainable agricultural development. And in this, I'm going to just maybe limit my intervention, Andreas, to three key areas that FAO is intervening in terms of these issues that are being brought to sharp relief and being highlighted through this International Year of the Woman Farmer. So the first level is the policy space. FAO supports our member states in terms of developing the relevant policies and then supporting the implementation thereof. And then internally also, we have our own internal gender policy that also obliges us to make sure that we are walking the talk and not just, preaching to other people and not doing practicing what we preach. And I'll come to concrete examples very shortly in the Kenyan context. And then, of course, evidence generation that you've alluded to, and publishing the data and information that can equally inform practices, but also inform policy formulation within the same member states in terms of gender action. And I would like to say, for example, one of the key publications that we produce at global level is the status of women in agri-food systems. And just 2 months ago in April, working together with the University of Greenwich, as well as Award, we also published an Africa-specific status of women in agri-food systems in Africa. So this data then forms the evidential base for people to take action. And the third layer of our work in this space is around the programmatic space. Along to what other speakers have indicated, we are implementing a number of interventions, not only in Kenya, but everywhere where FAO is operating. And I would like to highlight specifically in Kenya, one of the key aspects or key interventions that we've been working on in terms of land governance. And it's operating in a number of counties in Kenya. And one of the starting points in terms of making sure that gender is mainstream, because we've been hearing a lot about how women are not owners of the land. They don't have title for the most part. So how do we bring women in to be title holders alongside, if they are married, alongside their spouses or in their own right? And so one of the key instruments we've done is to undertake very targeted analysis of the context of a particular community, so that we understand what are the dynamics, what are the systems at play, and where are the opportunities for making a difference. And then with that, then bring in the constitutional provisions and bring the two together, that understanding of the context of that particular community and the constitutional provisions of Kenya in terms of access to land, so that the messaging and the engagement is informed by the cultural context, the dynamics within that community. And we found that this has been quite effective in terms of changing mindsets. So these are just a few examples that I would like to highlight, but I think it's quite important that we collaborate and we partner so that we transform knowledge into real change, and making sure that as a global organization, it's very tempting to stay at that level. And even in a country context like Kenya, to stay at the national level, but not go down, as my sister to my left was saying just now, not going down to the very lowest level, to be able to understand and to translate that knowledge into something that is meaningful within that context. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Faraya. Now we have Krista Harden from the U.S. Dairy Export Council, and I have to say you're a role model yourself about of leadership, because when you were nominated, or you got CEO and president of this council, you were the first female in this role. That was 2021, so yes, not too far away. So I would like you to see on the one side the business perspective on agriculture, but also your experience about leadership. So how, because we started from the household and about the whole system, and now also looking on the leadership issue. What is necessary to change leadership, to be more equal, to also show and incorporate all the different elements which agri-food systems have. Please.
Thank you. And I only have 2 to 3 minutes, correct? Yes. Okay.
I'm sorry.
So that's a lot to unpack there, but I'll certainly try. I always introduce myself first, not with the title I have today or the work I've done when I was an official at the U.S. Department of Agriculture, but the daughter of farmers, of peanut farmers or groundnut farmers, you might say, in this country, in the southern part of the U.S. So that is what motivates me and drives me to make sure that women are counted, are heard, are part of leadership, because it goes back to my own parents. I'm not just my mother, but my daddy too, who insisted on making sure she got the credit she deserved and the decisions that were made on our farm, and still are, frankly. The other thing is the group that I represent, for those who don't know, consists of all the dairy farmers in the U.S. So every dairy farmer is a part of my membership, and also 130 plus companies. Our chairperson, the leader, the elected leader of the organization, is a female farmer, a dairy farmer from California. She farms with her brother. Her farm was started by her parents. Her mother's still alive, but her daddy's deceased. Her mother is an elderly woman with Parkinson. So Becky Nyman is her name, and her brother Brad farmed this organization. Farmed their family farm, and she leads our organization. So she is the one who makes the decisions for this very large, very important part of the dairy industry in the U.S. It says to me that it can happen, and it should happen. I'm not only the first female CEO of our group, she is the first female chair. But that's not why we're there. We're there because we're the right people. We're the right leaders at the right time. I'm very proud that I'm a female. I only have one sister. We will inherit our land one day. Nothing makes me sadder to think that there are women in this room or wherever there may be that won't have those rights. That's what's got to change. The other thing is really recognizing and appreciating the role of women in agriculture as farmers. When I was a deputy minister at the U.S. Department of Agriculture in another administration, by the way, about 10 years ago, I worked to make sure that our agriculture census counted the contributions of women. When I got there, believe it or not, in the United States of America, in a modern time, 10 years ago, women were not counted in the census. It was one person was the principal. And guess what? That was a man. 99.9% of the time. Few of the farms, it was, maybe a woman owner, a widow sometimes had owned the land, inherited the land from her spouse. But most of the time it was men. And when I asked if that could be changed, I was told, well, we've never done that. We never thought about that. Well, guess what? You need to think about it. And guess what? It can be done. When there is a will, when there is a collaboration and a partnership and an understanding, not just from the women, but also the men in their lives, that the women's contributions are valued or appreciated and should be counted. It starts there. I honestly believe the changes begin at home. They begin with a husband, a parent, a sibling, someone who says, my wife, my daughter, my sister, my niece, my granddaughter's contributions matter and should be seen and counted, and they can lead just like I can. So all of you at home, whether you have women in your life or you're a woman who have men in your life, that's the conversation you need to have at home. Who's going to take over this farm? Who should take over this farm? Who has the right to?
Thank you. Well, so now we have the whole perspective from the farm, from the family, and we see it's not a big difference if we look to Africa, to Europe, to North America. Probably it's similar in Asia. So let's get into the discussion of solutions. I see Kati already wanting to add or to question. Kati.
Yeah, just a little comment to what Christy said. This is exactly what I meant, that women can be lost to registers or without if they are not recognized to be valuable enough to. So if there is only one person registered, it's usually a man. And that's where we can lose women. And then we also can lose the possibility to become a leader. Exactly.
Okay. Krista, direct, yeah?
Just add, in the US, when we started doing the census, it was not changing in the census. It was not like there were a whole new group of women who just started farming. It's just they had not been counted. And so they were already there. So our numbers skyrocketed in the US, the number of women farmers, not because of the new entree into the system. They were always there. We just overlooked them and didn't count them. So, well said.
Okay, and as you said, we have never done that. Well, it's time to do different. I look to Valerie. So what would you think we should do different tomorrow?
Well, it cannot be emphasized enough that there needs to be mind change, and there needs to be a shift in our mind change as people. And hearing from the conversations that we have already had, my mind is racing and thinking of whether we should start from studying human behavior to get to understand this issue of women, and then make a turnaround and do a complete mind shift on the same issue. So as Krista mentioned, it begins with us, really. And we need to have women as decision makers and not just as people to count as statistics.
Okay, women as decision makers. I would continue this question also to you. So there are women who are already decision makers. Should these women take more attention to promote other women? I would assume some may say, no, we don't need to look, and otherwise they would say just women take women. But to be honest, isn't that essential that women also make sure, well, there need be more women? So otherwise we will never get a change. What's your perspective on that? Should women promote other women and maybe prefer them with a negative aspect for the man?
I'm happy to jump in here because I do get criticized because I hire women. I hire the best people, absolutely the best person to do the job. A young woman is with me here today. I poached her from another group because she was the very best person to work for me. I want the very best. I want people who can multitask, who can make decisions, who can juggle everything in their lives, who are smart, who work harder because they have to. Because often their male counterparts have been giving something and these women have had to earn it in a hard way. Doesn't mean I don't hire men. I do have men on our staff, I promise you, and they're very, very good. They're the best in their jobs. But I never, ever look at a group of people to hire without it half at least being women. If someone asks me for recommendations for a new CEO role or another job in our industry, they get 10 women names who are very qualified. Of course, there'll be a man or two spattered in there if I have to. And I'm not against men. I'm married to one and love him very, very much. But he supports me and knows that if women are not bold and we are not brave and we do not stand out and we do not push and we do not help each other, we will not make progress at the strides we need to.
How do the others think about it?
Yeah, unpopular opinion. I think it's very easy to externalize the problem and place the burden on women that have reached a certain level to say it's your responsibility to open the door for other women. It's our responsibility. It's not a woman's responsibility alone. It's a whole of society responsibility. We have the data, we have the information, we know what needs to do. Let's act. Let's not look at the women alone that have made it up there to say, now open the door for others. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Valerie,
Okay,
and then Kati.
just to cement what the previous speakers have mentioned, my belief is to lead is to serve. And what impact will you make as a leader, woman or man, if you did not at least mentor someone who looks up to you? If you did not walk someone through the things you walked through to get to where you are. So I believe that if you're in the position of a leadership, if you're in a leadership position, woman or man, then you have a duty to serve, and part of serving is mentorship to other younger people who are coming up.
Kati, and I would add this a question to your answer you're giving. So we often see, okay, let's make, especially also in agriculture communities, let's make special groups for women, and maybe sometimes an opposite of no, let's just be part of everything. So how do you combine the binding, let's say, binding together the women, and at the same time trying to be at the, let's say, with the others together and bringing your energy in?
Well, I would prefer more the diverse groups, so bringing everyone together. So then we won't isolate, for example, women isolate to do women things there. So that's what I have also felt, that, oh, there's women's group, let them do the women's thing, because they are not interested on, for example, on machinery or technology or economy. I would also come back to this diversity. Quite often we tend to, if we have a possibility to elect a leader, or as Christy said, hire someone, actually it's also, there is a research that it's quite usual that we tend to choose a person who's like us. And that's something what we have to pay attention to when you are recruiting, or if you are electing a person to a board, and if you are, for example, a member of the nomination committee. Just focus on that you don't choose someone who is like you, but who brings diversity and has skills and knowledge, who really is needed in that position.
We talked already a lot of solutions. Also, our time is running. I would ask to have 2 ideas from the audience and from women. So 2 women who provide us an idea just in 2 sentences. So I see a woman over there and a woman over there. So please take one of the mics, not mine. And my wish is just do it in 2 sentences so that we can have also another perspective from that side. Stand up, please, so we can see you.
Good evening. My name is Catherine Shundu from Kenya, Kakamega County. Thank you so much for the panelists for the discussion around women in farming. I'm so much interested about this discussion, especially when somebody talked about 76% of women doing farming. And globally, we are 16% of persons with disabilities. And the discussion is excluding persons with disabilities in the whole concept. You realize that we also do farming, and without the discussion around this vulnerable group, we shall remain to be consumers, and we are actually not productive enough. Not because we can't, it's because the world is seeing us like that we need to consume and not to produce. So the whole concept, I wish that we also discuss, as we discuss women as one of the vulnerable groups, we also include the aspect of persons with disabilities to ensure that we are all productive and we are all productive and we are able to produce like any other category. And finally, I just say that
maybe
about
to shorten
the package intentions. When we work on our packages, we should look into it carefully, that the role of a woman with a disability who can do farming in the society. What is the role of us? If we are left out, the issue of having sustainable food, resilient, might leave a long gap. Thank you.
Thank you very much for giving us also this perspective. Not to forget that there are more people who are left out. So thank you for this perspective. And now we have another, please, short intervention from that side.
Thank you. I am Dr. Purity Murevi, a farmer and a researcher. Mine is just a comment and say that the team of panelists who have presented today have really touched women and Kenyan farmers. And I feel to tell the farmers that we are the solution to all the challenges and the problems that our country is facing today. We can be a solution if we implement what we've been told. Diversification of agriculture or farming. May I say that this is an area that will make us solve most of the problem. And we can see nowadays what is happening, and especially in African continent, Kenya not left out, is the scramble for limited resources in urban areas, scramble for urban tourism, scramble for wildlife tourism, scramble for beach tourism. But as farmers, imagine we can solve this problem if we diversify our farming activities and methods. I'm saying we can do this I'm saying this with a lot of confidence because I did my research, my PhD research on coffee tourism. And mine is just to try to commercialize the farmers' products, the farmers' activities, so that they can be a source of attraction to people who are scrambling to go to towns, to go to beaches, to go to see the animals. We can diversify. We can bring all these.
I would love to make it short, please.
So what I'm saying, if you look at a country, the developed countries, a case of Brazil, it has already, the government has already launched, it has launched the coffee tourism routes in all the owned and historic plantations.
Okay.
So
I would say thank you very much.
Mine, please.
I don't know to interrupt you. Plus,
thank you.
You showed us. Let's act. Let's implement and look on also the business perspective. Thank you very much also for your intervention. A big applause. Okay, now let's go to our final round. We have heard, we've gone from the household, we have seen the different experience from the women farm leader, and we have also seen up till the issue of what is also done on leadership in business. So we are going to our final round, and the final round is, I would like every one of you to make two issues, to describe two issues. So the main takeaway from today, and the other one issue, this wish issue. So if you would have a wish free, if you could implement one change tomorrow, one change, what would it be? So can I start with you, Krista? So main takeaway, and what would you implement tomorrow if you could?
I would say the main takeaway is that this kind of panel is so popular, you know, that there are so many different issues, opportunities for collaboration, data sharing, technology sharing. We can help each other, and there's a lot of groups here, including the farmers themselves, who want to do that. It seems to me the biggest hurdle continues to be, at least in many parts of the world, is land ownership or control of land, which means credit, financial, stability, those kinds of things. So if I was queen for the day, I would just do my one and say, every woman who wants to own land, inherit land, has that right and the ability to do so.
Thank you. Faraya, what's your takeaway and your instrument if you could just decide?
Yeah, quick takeaway. I think numbers matter, clearly. But let's go beyond the numbers. What are the numbers telling us? What do we need to do? And that's where the action needs to happen. And if I were to wave a magic wand and change things, what I would change is representation. We don't see enough women, especially in agri-food systems policy spaces, and we saw that during the first day. And
Okay.
it's not just Kenya.
Thank you, Freya. Now we get to Angeline.
Yes. Okay, so one key takeaway. As a woman, I am the change. And then together, we make the change to happen. So we need to work together. And let's start with the household as an institution. One of the things that I heard is that there are so many policies that are gender transformative, and they're gathering dust in the parliaments. They are not implemented. How can we empower the women, producer groups and cooperatives to undertake social accountability work, to understand those policies, and then be in a position to engage with the policymakers and monitor delivery of those public services? Thank you.
Thank you. Kati.
Thank you very much. As a message, actually, he was referred to the numbers and statistics, and they are important. But go to find the root causes. Why there is this? Why there are not enough women as farmers and decision makers? Go and find the root causes, because they might be different in different countries. And one change, Valerie already said, change of mindset, change of attitude. Don't be afraid of change. Don't be afraid of diversity.
Thank you. Now the last one, Valerie.
Thank you. My key takeaway from today is that there is need for intentional structural change that encompasses everything we have been talking about today. And if I would change just one thing, then I would give women equal decision-making power.
Okay. Thank you very much. A big applause for your contributions and for the very fruitful discussion. So we had 1 hour. We needed just a few minutes later, but the clock did stop. So at least we took 1 hour. And I think it's a very good used hour to give the momentum that the year of women farmers is not just 1 year, but provides opportunity of change for the long term. Thank you for all of you for your contribution, also for your contribution and for the big audience. And with this, I would close this session today. Thank you very much. And I give over to Paul.
Thank you so much. If you can join at the front just for a small picture, thank you so much. What an absolutely inspiring discussion. And we need more women farm leaders, not just because they're women, but because they're the right people. And that's really one of the messages I took away. And so thank you so much for that session. We are now going to move towards the final session of our day's conversations. But just before I move to the very final part of the session, I'm going to invite Engineer Mugambi to come and say a few words of thanks to the government of Kenya for their support. And then I'm going to join with the Secretary General and CEO of the Secretary General of WFO and the CEO of KNF to do some closing remarks.
Thank you. Right. All protocols observed. Farmers, good evening. Kindly allow me to make this important announcement. Tomorrow, being our third day, is an internal session of only WFO members. Tomorrow is internal session of WFO members only. All other members who are not members of WFO are not required here tomorrow. Well, having said that, I wish to thank all of you for your active participation. This is on behalf of the World Farmers Organization and the Kenya National Farmers Federation leadership, on behalf of the local organizing committee and the technical and advisory committee that was jointly convened by the members of Kenya National Farmers Federation and the Ministry of Agriculture, the Kenya's Ministry of Agriculture. Allow me to mention some of the state agencies in the ministry who have greatly sponsored or supported farmers to this conference. These are the Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organization. We are very grateful. Veterinary Medicine Directorate, the Kenya Tsetse and Trypanosomiasis Eradication Council, Agriculture and Food Authority, Pyrethrum Processing Company of Kenya, Bukura Agricultural College, Kenya Dairy Board, Kenya Seed Company, National Cereals and Produce Board, the Kenya Sugar Board, Coffee Fund, Agricultural Development Corporation, Agricultural Finance Corporation, National Tobacco Development Company. These are the semi-autonomous government agencies who have supported farmers to this conference. I remind you, Agrochemical and Food Company, Kenya Veterinary Board, Kenya Animal Genetic Resources Center, Kenya Sugar Research and Training Institute, Kenya Livestock Development Corporation, National Biosafety Authority, Central Bank of Kenya, Kenya Veterinary Vaccines Production Institute. If I have not mentioned your organization, we appreciate you, feel appreciated. I also want to appreciate people who have been exhibiting. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So our final session today is the reflections on the thematic discussions. And I'm going to invite to the floor Andrea Perot, the World Farmer Organization Secretary General, and also the CEO of Kenya National Farmers Federation, Dr. Daniel Mwenda Meluta. Is that right? Close? I tried. And so we're going to welcome them. Please welcome. These guys have been working very hard. So come and join us, please. Okay. First 2 days. It's great to have you both. Have you got a microphone each? There's a microphone there. So you're both CEOs. You're both wearing the Leadership Secretary General, but you're both in roles of leadership. Andrea leading the global network of the World Farmers Organization, with obviously the president and the board, but day to day. And then Mwenda, and it's okay to call you Mwenda, it's the perfect, okay, a Kenyan national network. And I think this is really important to have the national network where we're being hosted and the global network reflecting today about what have we heard and what are we going to do from the conversations that we've seen. So it's been a busy 2 days. I know I'm tired, but I'm energized. How are you feeling at this point? I'd like to just get your feeling. How are you feeling? Obviously, there's still more days of meetings, but how are you feeling based on the 2 days to date? Please.
Well, thank you, Paul.
It's on?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, loud and clear then. So, well, thank you for the question. Of course, it's a strange mixed feeling of the fact that all the work done, since we were just talking with Dr. Mwenda a few hours ago, this is the culmination of 1 year work.
Yeah.
Our General Assembly is the highest moment of our organization, and is defined and decided from GA to GA. So last year, KNAF proposed themselves to host the General Assembly here in Nairobi. And I think that Nairobi really sits at the crossroad of agriculture today in Africa. And of course, we were all energized to be here. Then there's a work of 1 year that accelerate towards the end. And then you have this final hiatus, like before diving into a black water. But then we resurface again, and seeing that this room has been filled and full from the very first day up to now, well, that's amazing. That's really amazing, and that's what I'm feeling. So that's wipe out every tiredness, every moment of uncertainties. So it is fantastic, but for that is not me. It's all the people here, it's all of you that made this success, and it's all the people behind the curtain. Give yourself a round of applause. Yes, it's the members of WFO, it's you, it's my team at the International Secretariat that you have seen around the room and up and down everywhere. He's the face of WFO, he's the board member, he's my president, the vice president, that are the one that have been tirelessly working to make a success, and that's where I draw my energy. So happy.
Congratulations to everyone. This has got great energy, so thank you so much. Dr. Mwenda, how are you feeling?
Thank you, Paul, and thank you for pronouncing my name very well. I appreciate that. I have a joyful and a grateful heart. That's what I feel now. I feel joy and I feel gratitude. Gratitude to you all. Like my brother here, Dr. Poro, has said, we started this a year ago. I have colleagues who've worked around the clock, particularly over the past 2 or so months. Our colleagues in Rome have also been working around the clock. Many people have worked to make this into what it has become. But without you all attending, without you all taking your time away from your farms, for the farmers, and from the professionals who are here, without you taking your time away, this would not have been a success. That is why I have a heart of gratitude. And that is what everyone at KNAF feels. We are all grateful. My colleagues, the staff, the leadership, the board, the local organizing committee, the government of Kenya through the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development, we feel that gratitude. And from the bottom of my heart, kindly do accept that gratitude. I also feel joyful. I feel joyful because it's been a wonderful, wonderful event. I've met friends from around the world, some for the first time, like my friends here from Brazil, and others, and I've seen discussions, deep, deep discussions by farmers from all over the world, interacting with Kenyan farmers, interacting with Kenyans from all walks of life, and that gives me joy. And that's why I believe this is the body. The World Farmers Organization is the body where every farmer on this small dot we call Earth belongs. We are 1.6 billion strong. We are the biggest profession in this world, and we all belong to this global body of farmers. And I do look forward to the next GA to see a lot more farmers. And I hope that we have carried the Nairobi spirit. The minister yesterday told us that we should also take time to have fun. So I believe as we wind down, you've all planned different ways of having fun and seeing the different venues that the cabinet minister pointed out. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Andrea, what are the priorities that you're taking away from the discussions and the dialogue that's happened?
Thank you very much. And first of all, I want to commend the work done over the past 2 days, also from the speakers. We always thank the sponsors, and obviously this event could have not been done to this level without the sponsor, but the content was also brought by the speaker and by an extremely grateful for your work, incredible work as moderator. So that's for me. Another important priority is that I've taken home is that we need more of this moment. It's not a matter of more General Assembly, because believe me, I cannot do it once every month. That would be too much. But the panel, the storytelling that we have here in these 2 days, I would really love that I can hear them more often in this open exchange, in this moment of this discussion that sits at the heart of what is WFO. An exchange among peers first, and the farmers that open their house to all the other actors of the agri-food system, of the value chain, of the system. But also, that's only come for me, listening to our members, so WFO members, in organizing that moment of exchange, in talking not only on the panel, but behind the curtains at the union coffee break every moment till late night. That is what we base our advocacy. We base on the vision and challenge and solution that come from our members, the farmers and their organization. That is priority for us. That exchange is the lifelink of WFO. Obviously, also the scientific approach. We are farmer driven, yes, but we also want to be rooted in science. We want to be science-based, not opinion, but hard science, but obviously mitigated by the wisdom of the farmers. And that's also, I want to thank the Structured Scientific Council that sits in WFO and help us to make sure that our policy, our position, our every comment that we do is really rooted in science. But also, at the end, on conclusion, the value of WFO sits in our diversity, sits with all of you that are around this room. Different history, different challenge, maybe sometimes more similar than what we think. Bring farmers together, bring family farmers together. We can learn from each other, and by recognizing and valuing the other perspectives, we can have policies, so the way that WFO operates, that can be truly inclusive and representative of all agricultural models. A final message for me, which arrived to me loud and clear. There is a strong need to be more from discussion to action. It was said that the very first day, it has been resonating through all the panel up to this evening. This tells me that as WFO, we need to create an even stronger link between the global discussion and the reality that each one of you face every day on your farm. And this is a priority that I will take seriously from now on, more than ever. So that's all.
Thank you. A strong set of priorities and a strong call to action. Thank you. Exciting to now see what's next. Dr. Mwendwa, we're here in Kenya. You have your farmers, many here, not all, but many. What are you going to take back next week as a priority that you've heard from the discussion?
Thank you, Paul. There have been very rich discussions over the past 2 days. So I'll just address a few. One is, we are the people who feed the world, and that is something we should be proud of. Please make that louder. Thank you so much. We feed the world, and that is something we should be proud of as farmers. Without farmers, and let's not lose the fact that food should be produced by farmers. We must never lose sight of that. Food must be produced by farmers. Without farmers, there will be no one on earth. Yesterday, the president of the German Farmers Association said that we underwrite food security. And as a result, we underwrite national security. We also guarantee democracy. I think that is something to be proud of. That we underwrite, we are the people responsible for food security on earth. We also guarantee democracy, because without us, there will be no nations. Without food, basically, there will be chaos in this world. That is something we must be proud of, and that I would encourage farmers, not just from Kenya, but from around the world, that we should see that value in ourselves and use that to determine the value that we bring to the government and to other actors in the value chain. Number two, we are in business. We are entrepreneurs. No one is doing farming because they have nothing else to do. We are in farming because we want to make a return on investment. And that is something we cannot connect with. Whether you come from Europe or North America or Asia or South America or Africa or Oceania, we are in business. And we can all agree that they should be the imperative that drives us, so that we don't see ourselves as these are farmers from this region of the world, and maybe they are not as important as we are, or these are farmers who maybe should be classified as more. We are all important because of the three things that we do: feeding the world, national security, and guaranteeing democracy. So if we are driven by that, then we should desire to be in strong farmer organizations through which we can engage with the market. We have a place in the World Trade Organization. We have a trade in processes from the local level to the national level to the regional and to the global. And we can only do that if we are in strong farmer organizations. That is a desire we must all have and protect as farmers.
Thank you. We're coming to the end, but for both of you, I guess there's lots of diverse views and voices over the last 2 days, and I think diversity is good. We just heard on our last panel, it's important to bring these perspectives together. There's been a resounding call, though, to focus on the farmer. There's lots of challenges, there's lots of situations. How do we make this focus on the farmer, this call to action, benefit the farmers you represent in the advocacy that you're doing?
Wow, you really saved the
Just
easiest,
last.
easiest
Just
for last,
yeah.
Well, at WFO, we do believe that the way that we build our position consensus-based, waiting that every of our members bring an equal voice, is at the root of a strong advocacy. The things that make us similar are more than one that make us different. That is the root of the WFO vision, that it comes and is drawn by all our members. And it's that what I think that make the policy of WFO so forward-looking, because they really encompass the diversity of the agri-food system. They encompass the diversity of farming system and soil and land and earth and human health and society that you all face every day as farmers. And us, as the International Secretariat at WFO, we are here to be the amplifier of that voice, the distiller of that experience, and the sounding board of the solution that you have every day, you find every day. And that's what we want to bring. So not farmers as beneficiaries, but farmers as co-designer and leader of solution. And that's what, for me, is what the diversity make it our policy stronger, and what this experience may make our advocacy be more effective. Then, of course, join all of you, us, in our constant daily battle, as my friend Dr. Mwenda said, there are more and more areas which we need to remember what farmers are doing every day. And one comment, I always tell Dr. Mwenda that Kenya has been my first country where I started as young professional. From that time, kind of some 20s, don't, let's not go down that line, some years ago. But still, from that time to today, there are still so many farmers around the globe that go to bed hungry. If food producers are going to bed hungry, there's still work to be done every day. And that's what WFO want to do. And that's what the diversity of our membership enrich and make our advocacy stronger. Thanks.
Thank you. There is still a lot to do, but there is some great work happening. And thank you to both of you for leadership in really working with your teams and the broader group to deliver a really strong annual meeting here in Kenya. And I think it's great to see a room that's full all day, to see more chairs being added, because there's so many people, and the energy and the excitement in the room has been something that I know I will be going and telling people about the power of farmers, the energy of farmers, the solutions being discussed by farmers. And this was not just a talk fest, it was an action fest. It was a conversation about building action. And so I want to thank all of you in the room for the amazing participation that you've had over the last 2 days. Thank you everyone for joining us. We are gonna close here for the day, and I think, Doctor, please.
Paul, thank you. I just want to reiterate what my colleague Engineer Mugambi said, just so that we are all clear. So tomorrow is the internal session of the World Farmers Organization. So if you do not belong to a World Farmers Organization member, then tomorrow is not your day. For the Kenyans, those who have KENAF numbers, membership number that is, then we expect you here tomorrow. Otherwise, we are really grateful to everyone else, and we will look forward to the post-General Assembly engagements with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, before everyone goes, what I would like to do is try and attempt the biggest farmer selfie. Do you think we can do it? Okay, I don't want everyone to come on stage because the stage we might injure a farmer. But I thought we could maybe use here or here. What do you think? We get everyone to come up, maybe up into a space, and we do the photo. Should we do it this side or here? Just get everyone in the middle. What's best? Okay, the photographers come this side on the stage. Photographers on the stage. Everyone else stand up and move towards the center. And we're going to take the photo from this side. So, it's okay, photographers? Yes. Okay. So come in from the edges, please. We're going to have to we're all friends now. So we can be, we've embraced the Kenyan hospitality. Come close, keep coming in, come in. We're going to have to use all this space. Come. Come down the aisles. Come in closer. Come right here. Come closer. We come right close, huh? Yes. Come as close as you can, right up here to the stage. Come further, come. Come further. Closer. Is it okay? If you are on this side, come around the side. Move into the center a bit more because we can capture this whole area. Yeah, we can do a big one. Okay, we're getting lots of photographs. Keep coming in. I'm going to make a little video as well, huh? Do you think? We'll do a selfie. Okay. Let me see what we can do. We'll come closer. Maybe this way. Okay, over here. We can't forget these people. Are you happy? Okay, this side. We'll get lots of them. Okay, and then over here.
And share.
Over here. Have we got all the photos? One more. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much. Give yourself a big cheers. Thank you.